Ask Professor Liu Shiryong, please give your presentation and for 20 minutes. Please welcome the Professor Liu Shiryong's presentation.
Hello.
Hello,
Can
sir.
you hear me? Can you hear me?
And please sharing the screen sharing.
Yeah, I just check how to get the share screen. 那个在哪儿？在这儿吧？哎，那怎么没出来呢？ It's okay.
Okay.
Can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
It's fine. Okay. So thank you for your invitation and join this symposium. And first, I would like to, on behalf of our academy, to extend our warm congratulations to the Korea Society of Forestry Science for his 60th anniversary. And we are a great honor to join this celebration and then this symposium and share some of the information with with our colleague today this afternoon. So first, I would like to give a very short presentation of our academy. The Chinese Academy of Forestry is a public research institution subordinated to the National Forestry and Grassland Administration. And 2 years ago, we have a governmental reshuffle process. So the former National Forestry Administration changed name, and now the grassland now is belong to this administration. And then we belong to the Ministry of Natural Resources. And certainly this is the largest forestry research institution in China. And our actually the academy originated from 1912. At that time, we called the Central Experimental Forest Farm. And we officially have this name, Chinese Academy of Forestry, in 1958. And right now we have a 22 affiliated research institution and 12 research institute and working on the different subjects and nearly cover the whole range of the different subjects of forestry and forest. And we have a full research and development center and a full experiment center. And all these the different institutions distribute the different part of the country, and totally 13 provinces, I think. And totally we have a 30 province. And the Chinese Academy of Forestry do very much the scientific research organization, both the basic research, applied research, and also some of the policy-oriented process. And we provide the research funding and the knowledge to advance our national forestry growth and improve the sustainable forest management. And at the national level, safeguard the eco-security and boost the ecological civilization. The main field, as I see this slide, is the silviculture for ecology, breeding, protection, erosion control, combating desertification, forest management, wood science, and chemical processing, and all these different subjects. I think many of other forestry institutions also have the similar subject. And for the research team, we totally have the staffing is 2,600 roughly. But actually over 20 years ago, we have roughly 5,000. And we have so-called down-staffing process, reduce the person and then they increase the budget. One of that direction, we are working on that. So among those roughly 3,000 staffing, we have roughly 2,100 is a professional. Those professional, including the professor, 200 78, associate professor 687, assistant professor professor is 895, and junior researchers 300 roughly. Mostly right now is the young and middle-aged staffing is accounting the majority. As you see, that's 36. The age beyond the 45 accounting for roughly 36. Mostly they have the PhD and master degree. That is accounting 65%. We have a very good facility, and we have a different research lab at the provincial and the sector level. Sector level means state forestry at the grassland administration level, and 22 engineering technology research center, 39 field station and terrestrial ecosystem research, and 8 quality supervision and inspection institution at the sector level. And we have a large area for experimental research and demonstration. We also have a 15 long-term forest research monitoring site across the country. And also we have at the national level, so-called the key lab of excellence in China forestry sector that working on the forest tree genetic and breeding. And this is just a very brief introduction to share with you. If you want to know more about that, you can log on our website and to see more detail. So now I'm going to little bit about the current forest resources and the forestry development in China. And one is the China forestry resource, according to the most recently 9th National Forest Inventory published in March last year. Forest area roughly is 220 million hectares. And that includes natural forest, 139 million hectare, plantation is 79 million hectare. And plantation means 79 million hectare is the largest, the plantation in the world, ranking the first place in the world. Forest cover is 22.96.
No voices. No voices.
he restart again the maybe computer. How about Professor Dodik? Why don't you say hello with the?
Okay, hello.
So why don't you introduce yourself to we already in the morning session we say hello each other.
Okay, thank you very much. I am Dodi Ridwan Rahmat. Now I am a Vice Rector of IBB University Bogor in Indonesia. Thank you very much for inviting me in this wonderful session of the 60th anniversary of KSFS. Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Terima kasih ya, Professor. We should decide it.
Ya, Misun. Halo, Misun. My kolega.
How about Professor Shirong? Is maybe turn off at the moment. Your voice is not. Can you turn on? Use the microphone. Hello? No listen. In China problem or in
Yeah, I think in China problem.
Oh, really?
No voices.
No voices. Miss Chen, no voice. Can you hear me? No. Oh, she is working international cooperation office in Chinese Academy of Forestry. So we collaborated together preparing this presentation. How about so? Oh, this is an emergency situation. It's a real time. Hello, 유지혜. 들리는 거야? 네? 넘어가는 게 낫겠다. 네. So why don't you? May I move to next speaker? Then maybe we restart again. Otherwise, maybe time to delay. So may I invite the second speaker, Professor Dodi? So just a moment. I'm not sure. I just emergency. 맞아요? So Professor Dodi, why don't you starting your presentation, and then later I will restart Professor Liu Shirong again. Please.
Okay, I will share my presentation first.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So how about your presentation file and the screen share?
Okay. You can see?
Good. Perfect.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Honorable President of Korean Society of Forestry Science, Dr. Jungkee Choi, Chair of the International Exchange Committee, Dr. Ho Sang-kang, and Chair of Scientific Committee of KSFS, Dr. Su Yong-wo, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. It is my great honor to participate and deliver a short speech in the 60 years anniversary meeting of Korean Society of Forest Science today. Although this year, due to COVID-19, we must unfortunately hold this wonderful meeting as an online or virtual meeting. In this great event, I would like to shortly share my presentation about enhancing forest sustainability through scientific collaboration. Lessons from IBB University Bogor. Same with most participants in this meeting, IBB University is also a part of a society of science. Forestry is very important scientific disciplines and becoming one of the oldest faculty at IPB University. Since last month, we decided to rebranding the name of my faculty as the Faculty of Forestry and Environment. This is the new name of our faculty, to link a broader scientific approaches of environmental aspects related to forestry. IPB University as scientific institution and also represented by its faculty member are actively involved in numbers of forest science community at national level, such as Indonesian Forestry Scholars Association, or PERSAKI, Indonesian Wood Researcher Society, Indonesian Forest Management Community, Communication Forum of Forestry Community, and many others. At regional level, we are member of the ASEAN Forestry Cooperation Organization, or AFOCO, that was initiated several years ago by the Republic of Korea. Thank you for involving us in this organization. And also some other organizations such as Asia Pacific Association of Forest Research Institutes. And also at international level, we actively involved in the International Union of Forest Research Organization, or IUFRO. Ladies and gentlemen, IPB University has a strong vision of inspiring innovation with integrity in agriculture, ocean, and biosciences for sustainable world. Of course, forestry and environment is included. This vision will be achieved by a strategic plan of Agro-Maritime 4.0. I am very glad to inform you that yesterday, just yesterday, IPB University Bogor was just announced by the Ministry of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia as the best universities in Indonesia 2020. Not only in agriculture, but universal in all aspects. As the best university in Indonesia, and we do hope also growing to be a top class university, we cannot work alone. We need more and more collaboration. We have to strengthen collaboration to achieve our common goals together, a better prosperity and a more sustainable world. Ladies and gentlemen, scientific collaboration is very important to enhance forest sustainability. A scientific collaboration is not necessarily to involve only scientific communities, but should also work together with other communities such as forestry businesses, NGOs, and it is also very important policymakers. Collaboration within a scientific community or scientific society, such as amongst universities or between university and research institution, will significantly improve the scientific findings. Further collaboration with business sector will transform scientific knowledge into practice. However, collaboration with policymakers will involve scientific evidences in policy-making process and is expected to set evidence-based policies. We are fully aware that it is not easy to manage our country, Indonesia, with a 265 million population dispersed in the area of more than 17,000 islands. We are now in the largest producers of palm oil in the world, second biggest producers of rubber and cacao, and fourth of coffee. However, we also contribute significantly to a greenhouse gases emission. Although, referring to per capita carbon emission, we are still very low comparing to other countries. Yeah. As a forester, I am glad that about 68% of the Indonesian terrestrial are forests. However, we face a big challenges because about 30% of those forests have been heavily degraded. Rehabilitate and restore all those degraded forests are not realistic, since up to now, land allocation for agriculture in Indonesia is only about 21% of a total terrestrial. much less than agriculture lands allocated in other countries, particularly in developed countries such as US, Australia, or even UK, which allocated about 50% to more than 70% of lands for agriculture. In average, each farmer's household in Indonesia are only on about 0.3 hectares, 0.3 hectares, less than 1 hectare of farmland, a very small peasant. Under this difficult situation, IPB University has a task to promote the best formula in managing all needs and interests in more or less balance by implementing the principles of green development that are, first, efficient in utilizing resources, second, clean minimum pollution and negative environment impact, and third, resilience in changing environment. Lessons from other countries are the best way to transform knowledge, innovation, and technology to achieve green development. Therefore, we are always very happy getting collaborative partners. A long-term partnership between ASEAN and the Republic of Korea is one of good example how we could learn each other. In forestry and environment, we managed a long and strong collaboration under AKECOP, ASEAN Korea Environmental Cooperation Project, and support also Korea ASEAN Community of Shared Future. Ladies and gentlemen, international collaboration is very important to improve state capacity and strengthen social capital. Those are very important in enhancing prosperity and sustainability of forests and also natural resource management, as well as achieving sustainable development goals. Collaboration is a key to break the vicious circle of development and to ensure the implementation of the sustainability indicators that are social, economy, ecology, legal and institutional, as well as access and technology. International collaboration is also required to maintain economic growth with minimum environmental degradation. Prosperity of people will be achieved in a shorter period and environment will recover sooner, boosting the inverted U hypothesis of Simon Kuznets, following the concept of sustainability path. It means our development should be conducted to consider the minimum sustainability indicators that are reversibility, the environment is able to make a recovery, and adaptability, the condition where the people is able to make adaptation. The basic concept of sustainability path is maintaining the ecosystem function to improve the quality of life for the future generation. Thus, this is a dynamic, not a static equilibrium. Collaboration in higher education will strengthen the scientific concept that is very important to strengthen science policy interface. The interface of science and policy will improve the quality of policy through collaboration with as many as partners in different regions, covering not only ASEAN countries, but also Europe, US, Australia, and other regions. In Asia, the Republic of Korea is one of our main partners. IPB University has collaborated with many universities and other institutions in Korea, such as SNU, KNU, and many others. Our sincere gratitude also goes to KOICA, that hopefully starting this year will give a 7 years research grant for a collaboration between IPB University and SNU. Ladies and gentlemen, IPB University is strongly concerned to consistently develop scientific collaboration both in terms of research and education with national, regional, international partners. International collaboration in forest science is developed based on mutual understanding amongst partners. A mutual understanding is pivotally important to strengthen legitimacy of national policy or national standards at bilateral or international level, such as sustainability standards, forest product certification, etc. The collaboration is not only able to improve the quality of research, but also making possible to solve a complex problem and maybe also resolving a conflict by shifting contestation into cooperation. One of the best practice is our long-term international research collaboration with the University of Göttingen, Germany, and 2 local universities in Indonesia in developing initiatives and demonstration plots of oil palm-based agroforestry. This is the existing oil palm that after 5 years we planted it with some forest trees, yeah, fruit trees like durian, yeah, dog fruits, and so on. This is very important in the Indonesian context because of a large area of forest has been converted into oil palm plantation. This provides financial benefits for farmers, but at the same time threat also the sustainability of the forest. It is not easy to make a bridge between both socioeconomic and ecological interests. The oil palm-based agroforestry is a promising scheme that enriching the existing oil palm plantation with commercial forest products, such as fruit trees like durian, dog fruits, in local language we call it Jungkee, pete, and other products that are having a high value, high economic value, and also good market. Thus, this collaborative research has a high impact to contribute in building initiative for conflict resolution, increasing prosperity, as well as saving more forest and environment. It is a situation about 4 years after planting the forest trees, yeah, and within the existing oil palm plantation. It is just one example of the best practices of the research collaboration that are potentially transformed into evidence-based policy and also important part of sustainable forest management. Ladies and gentlemen, before closing my presentation, again, I would like to thank Korean Service of Forest Science, KSFS, who invite me and facilitates this meeting. Congratulations, happy 60th anniversary of KSFS. Thank you very much. Kamsahamnida.
Terima kasih, Professor Toding Nukromachat. It is a very excellent presentation. May I ask any speakers give any question or comment in his presentation? This is a very pity. So we try to develop a cooperative project like KOICA, but unfortunately we couldn't go to Indonesia at the moment. But again, hopefully like this symposium, online meeting, we can share more idea to develop the more cooperative project. Hopefully in the near future, right? How about Gangwon National University also some cooperation project with the IPB?
Yes, yeah. We have good relations. University, IPB. Yeah.
Yeah.
I met the Fabrianto professor. Do you know him? Yeah. He came to Gangwon National University Open.
Yeah.
Good sister university. Yeah.
Okay. May I stop screen share?
Can I ask something?
Professor Park, Park, please give any question or comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. for your presentation. I have just one simple question. You showed one example of agroforestry. They based it on oil palm plantation. I'd like to know how agroforestry issue is the big or the hard agenda in Indonesia, especially in the forest policy and also the agricultural policy. Can you give some information on agroforestry?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Park. Okay, yeah. In Indonesia, agroforestry now is one of mainstreaming issue because agroforestry is a part of agrarian reform. So Indonesian government allocated about 18 million hectares for agrarian reform. About 5 million hectares is what we call it released forest area. So converted forest area into economic purposes. But about 12.9 million hectares is allocated for agroforestry. So the government share the function, not the share the land. So the government share the land for only 5 million hectares for economic purposes like road construction, buildings, and so on. But for make economic productivity of the lands, our government just give what's it says right to use, like agroforestry. So the government allocated more lands, 12.9 million hectares of forest lands allocated for agroforestry. So it is a part of the scheme of agrarian reform. Why the Indonesian government allocated more lands for agroforestry? Because you know that as I already mentioned that the land ownership, farmland ownership of Indonesian farmers is only 0.3 hectares per household. It's very, very small. And at the same time, we have also to meet the demand of 265 million people, to feeding 265 million people. It is not easy. So we have to share the function of forest land with other function without converted the forest. So once of the option is increasing the productivity of the degraded forest, as we already mentioned that about 30% of our forest has been degraded, heavily degraded. So we have a totally 125 million hectares of forest, and about 30 million hectares of them has been degraded. So we have to try to improve the ecological function of those degraded forests. Not all has to back to the natural condition like a natural forest, but we also try to maintain the function of forest by maximizing the social function also. So we try to regrowing the trees, but not always the Meranti or Sorea, but we also try to grow fruit trees, for example, with a multi-strata forest like a cafe, Arabica cafe, for example, or in pit land, we have also the good cafe like Librica cafe or Excelsa cafe. It is very good, also planted in the pit land. So, and cafe like Arabica cafe, it is shedding canopy trees, so it is very good also to make multi-strata forest. So by, for example, the existing oil palm plantation, this is the existing oil palm plantation, and 2.5 million hectares of the existing oil palm plantation, mostly planted by the people. The status is still dispute. I mean, it is legal according to the local authorities, but it is illegal concerning to the state government, central government law. So we have to try to have win-win solution or conflict resolution. How to improve this condition of the oil palm plantation due to the status of the oil palm plantation. Some of them, not all, about 2 million hectares of 15 million hectares. So just some of them is dispute the status. So we have to make clear the status by optimizing the function of ecological function, ecological function, because it is basically it is obviously still forest, but in the field, in reality, some of them has been planted by oil palm plantation, and it is impossible, yeah, to force the people. There's thousands of people already there, and then cut all oil palm trees. It is impossible. Socially, it is it will create unrest situation, chaotic. So we have to solve the problem. One of the promising conflict resolution is planting the oil palm, the existing oil palm plantation. It's not the new one, but the existing ones. Planting the existing ones, oil palm plantation, existing oil palm plantation with forest trees, yeah, and yeah, with Meranti, Sorea, and then also durian zebetinus, fruit trees, dog fruits, pete, and so on. That will give farmers more benefits, because the price of durian, price of the dog fruits in Indonesia is much higher than oil palm fruits, because in the recent situation the price of oil palm is decreased, and it is interesting for people to make a diversification of the plantation. So I think it is a win-win solution, Dr. Park. I do hope that
Okay, thank you very much.
already
Sorry,
answered your question.
So maybe if you, Professor Park, if you have a further question, so may I ask you through the chatting, you can talk again, yeah? So
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor
You're
Jody.
welcome.
So may I invite the third speaker in the second session of the symposium, the Professor Batu Niam Osolo from the National University of Mongolia. So please welcome the Professor Batu. Are you ready, sir?
You hear me?
Long time waiting. Please welcome the Professor Batu.
Thank you.
So please sharing your screen. Oh, good. It's not tropical. It's a different ecosystem. Please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay. First of all, I would like to also thanks and congratulate 16th anniversary of the Korean Society of Forest Sciences, and also I would like to greet our great alumni and my Sambe and Hobes for this meeting and organizing this meeting. So as you can see from the previous slide, the first slide, I would like to touch some research and education in the forestry sector in Mongolia. Actually, I'm working in the education part, and also same time I'm doing my research, but I've tried to, as much as collect data and information related to the forest research and education in the country of Mongolia. So firstly, I would like to very briefly introduce about forest resources in Mongolia. So as you can see here, we have almost 19 million hectares of the forest, which is coverage of the forest is accounting around 12% of the total land of the Mongolia. So among them, around 75% belongs to the forest in the northern part, northern mountain forest, the coniferous forest. And the lower part, we do have also the desert species, as we can say, the Haloxan amadendron saxal forest. So here the species composition is almost similar to the northern hemisphere forest, similar to the Russian taiga forest. So mostly consisting of the 4 or 5 species of conifers and some the broadleaf species, very common for the northern hemisphere. And of course, saxaul and another species, which is also the very important red-listed species in the Gobi Desert, is Populus eupatриca. 3 species in Mongolia. It's very limited distribution, and nowadays the government of Mongolia is paying much more attention of the conservation and restoration of those 3 woody species, which is growing in the Gobi Desert area. So in terms of the management of the forest, is somehow the limited due to the finance and due to also the capacity and technical capacity and also the human resources. So as you can see here, the most of the common forest farming species in Mongolia is much more, almost over 75% of the Mongolian forest is overaged. That means the old growth forest. So the recent decades, Mongolian government, specifically Ministry of Environment, is paying much more attention on the tending and silvicultural activities to be conducted in the northern coniferous forest in order to I may say the balancing, somehow to have sustainably managed and also the age composition by the tending activities in the northern part, northern old growth forest areas. So you can see here it's around 60–70% is almost old growth forest. Of course, similar to the many part of the world, Mongolian forest is having degraded and deforested due to the mismanagement, also the human impact, and of course the climate change impacts. So the most of we're having some research on the Mongolian forest specifically for drivers, which is going to the deforestation, land degradation, and for deforestation degradation. We can say three main factors are degrading directly Mongolian forest resources. First one is forest fire due to the climatic condition, geographical location. And the Mongolia is a very dry country. So forest fire is very common throughout the year. The second one is the logging. Of course, we do have some allocated logging activities in the forested areas, but there is also some illegal logging activities. It's very common specifically in the northern part, where the forest resources is sufficient for. Then the other one is the pest and disease. So these three drivers are the long-term affecting the Mongolian forest, and the others the drivers can be also the overgrazing, because Mongolian almost especially even though nowadays the half of Mongolian the population is still living on a nomadic life phase. The other last one is the mining industries nowadays. It's very common, and also the clear cutting of the forested area and the mining activities taking in these actions. So these are the direct, indirect causes or the drivers for the deforestation, degradation in the country of Mongolia. Government of Mongolia also paying much more attention, not only to conserving the forest and conserving the other natural resources, mainly by taking action on the protected area system, establishing many different levels of the protection. So as you can see here, there is some from this map. The different colored part is somehow under the protection. Also, the government of Mongolia had been already have the goal to protect Mongolia and territory around 30% of the territory by the 2015, but it still is due to the political situations and the government exchange. We still have around 26% of the Mongolian land is under the protection level. So according to this protection level and the different the protected area system, we can see here as around forest land, the total around 6.8 out of the 12 million hectares, around half of them is under the protection by the protected area system in Mongolia. So this is, yeah, a little bit different. So I would like to also introduce the institutions, research institutions in Mongolia. Actually, there is not many research institutions in Mongolia. Only 2 institutions under the Mongolian Academy of Sciences has a branch or the department or laboratory which dealing with the forestry and forest researches. So of course there is a during different time period, the development of those institutions as a very, very different. Of course, it was also the effect of the politically and economic development of the country. So recently, and then starting from 2015, there was the restructuring, the reform in the research institutions and the Mongolian Academy of Sciences. So some of you may know that there was this 3 institutions dealing with the forestry science, but now they are combined. And lastly, also some of them is separated, the different institutions under different names. So first one is who has the long history in terms of the forest, specifically botanical research. First, botanical research. We do say that the geobotanical or the phytogenealogical aspects of the forest. That means the plant science plus the forestry. It was belonged to the Institute of the Botany, previously named, and nowadays they changed their name into the Botanic Garden Research Institute under the Mongolian Academy of Sciences from the last year. So even though these they have a long history, 1974, the research capacity and human resources are quite limited. As you can see here, they have only 47 staffs, among them, 2 of them are Doctor of Science and 4 PhD and 6 master researchers, and others are somehow the research assistants without any science degrees. The other institution, which is combined, is Institute of Geography. It was the separate institutions, Institute of Geography and Institute of Geology, which we did specifically. The Institute of Geology has quite long history and also the very extensive research in the forestry sector under the Mongolian, not only under the Mongolian Academy of Science, and also they do have many international corporations within last years. So unfortunately, these 2 institutions were combined by the decision or the decree by the President of Mongolian Academy of Sciences in 2015, and they combined, and now they do have combined name, Geography and Geology. So since 2 institutions are combined, the staff number is quite higher than compared to the other institutions in the Botanical Garden Institute. They do 160 staff and 3 Doctor of Sciences, PhD, more than 30, and then otherwise almost all the remained staff, they do have the master, the degree in the related field of sciences. So of course, they do have many, actually they do have differ, but they do have also some overlapping researches in the forestry because they're dealing with the forest science and forestry fields. So in case of the geography, I've outlined the sectors which we can say that the kind of departments related to the different issues, because 2 institutions are combined. They do have dealing many different types, different fields of specifically for the soil, water, land, and also of course forestry. In case of the Botanical Garden Institute, they mostly the vegetation science and the forestry and related applied field of science, especially they dealing with the gene bank and the reintroduction or introduction of the different species and native and also the other species. So actually the history, the forestry sector, the development, has actually over 95 years of history. That means not only the research, also the the forestry sector in terms of the timber utilization, etc. It was started before, otherwise almost 100 years ago. So there, I should also mention two different types of the expeditions which we had almost over 50, 60 years of the history. These two expeditions had a very, very much impact on the development, not only the forestry sector, also all the natural sciences development, research development, R&D development in the Mongolia. So first one has almost 60 years of anniversary, which was started in 1962, German-Mongolian biological expedition, and still is also the ongoing expedition. The other one is the Russian-Mongolian joint biological complex expedition. Also has over 50 years of the history. So these two expeditions had much more impact on the research development of the Mongolia, not only the forestry and other natural science fields. So this, I should mention about this. And unfortunately, this year we didn't have the long-term expedition due to this COVID-19 pandemic. So under these two institutions, two departments, they're dealing with the forestry field. So one is the Institute of Geographic Ecology, Department for Resource Conservation. They mostly are concerning research on the forest ecosystem change and dynamic succession of the different types of the disturbances. And at the same time, they do also have some restoration technology, development of the restoration technology in different geographical locations. And sometimes also the establishment of some seed stands, natural or the planted seed stand, seed orchard development in the country. In terms of the botanical garden research, as I mentioned previously, they much more concerning on the genetic issues and also the introduction and cultivation of the native or the rare and rare species in the of the Mongolia. And also they running the botanical garden under the institution. So somehow they're dealing with the different topics, but sometimes the overlapping topics is not affordable. So now I'm going to education part, and actually there is for four university with the one branch in the countryside in the Darkhan city, dealing with the forestry and environmental issues. So actually the first forestry program or the curriculum was established at the State Agriculture University. Nowadays there's the Mongolian University of Life Sciences. They have changed their name recently. But up to the 1990s, most of the professionals, specifically the professionals who are dealing with the PhD or the master degrees, they were trained in Russia or Bulgaria or Romania, etc. And firstly, the education, the official forestry education was started in 1985 with the four-year base and 6-year master courses at our university, which I'm working here, National University of Mongolia. The other one is the wood industry and wood processing, was started in the Mongolian Polytechnic University. Now their name is the Mongolian University of Science and Technology. So annual enrollment and graduation is averaged around 20 to 30 students in both institutions, including those three, our National University and Agriculture University and Science and Technology. But recently, actually, unfortunately, the students number in both all the universities is sharply decreased due to the higher education reform and also the curriculum accepted in those universities. Meanwhile, also we do have some vocational training schools and training schools in the forestry. But the government of Mongolia also they're paying much more attention on recently on the vocational training which is around 2 or 3 years of vocational training and offering the technical diplomas. In these, the vocational training courses, the students' number is much more higher than in the university level. But the students who have already trained in those vocational training schools can be entered to the university level and get the bachelor degree. It's open for those students. So, as I mentioned, there are 4 universities. The other one is International University of Ulaanbaatar. Actually, this university is financed by the Korean company, the one of the person who's current. He's running this university since 1995. Under these 4 universities, we do have different types of the departments, which is different by the names. In terms of the National University in Mongolia, we do have Department of Environment and Forest Engineering, because we are now belonging to the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences after the reform in higher education of Mongolia. The State University of Life Sciences, they do have Department of Ecology, and under the Department of Ecology, they do have the first curriculum. In terms of the science and technology, wood processing technology, the department, mostly concerning the utilization of wood and wood processing wood technology. In terms of the International University of Ulaanbaatar, they do have Department of Horticulture. Unfortunately, the last year they closed the program because lack of the enrollment of the students in the field. Probably this year they will be reopen their curriculum in this year. So in case of the history of those 4 universities, oldest one is, of course, National University of Mongolia. It's also one of the, not only one university which established in 1944-42. From this university, other universities, it's the State University of Agriculture or the Life Sciences or the Science Technology University, they branched and they separated. So you can see here the number of students, number of the staff, the research institutions, centers, etc. You can see here, and later on you can, I will share with you all my slides. I will not cover all of them. So in terms of, in 2015, 2016, we had these 4 institutions or the universities, specifically the program in the forest sciences, agreed to sign the compendium on the joint cooperation among the domestic institutions. And we had some small survey in order to broaden and promote the forestry science and forestry education in the Mongolian country, since we have the limited number of the enrollment. So these graphs are shows all the 4 university faculty members and teaching capacity. For example, you can see here, among the 4 universities, those with the professors, associate professors, and assistant professors, etc. You can see here, we have limited number of the students. In terms of the Mongolia, our university, National University of Mongolia, in our department, we have 6 professors, 6 teaching staffs. Number of students, as I can see, as I mentioned here, the vocational certificate training here is over 600. In terms of the whole 4 universities, each year in terms of the 2016, we had around 300 students in all level, 4-year levels, and 48 master course students and 17 PhD students in 4 universities. So as you can see here in the left hand, you can see that the 5 years, number of the undergraduates, that means the graduate students enrollment is decreasing year by year in all those 5 universities. But the graduate student number is somehow is a constant or a little bit increasing, specifically related to the job opportunities in other organizations, since they have a graduate degree. It's one of the necessity to advance the leadership positions in different countries and as the first two employments. These four institutions has, as mentioned, the memorandum or compendium on the National Forestry Education Consortium. Nowadays, we are trying to interrelate our education programs in terms of higher education, specifically the internship programs between the universities, because we do have, all universities have their own university forests, and exchange of students, and also can be combined the courses, similar topics in all those universities, etc. So here is the number of graduate students, each level of the degree, bachelor, master, PhD. Of course, the masters and PhD students, almost 100%, they got the positions after the degree. Unfortunately, the bachelor degree is not sufficient. Around 60, half of them can get employed in different organizations, not only the government organizations, also including the mining companies and also the NGOs, etc. So I will just cover about some the research activities, because the education is the most important part for the university, but the other part is the research is also important for those professors and for those who's working in the university. So I would like briefly introduce about our department and also our laboratory and our programs. As I mentioned, we do have very limited 6 professors. Most of them has got their degree in the other foreign countries. And of course, the curriculum trend, depending on the trend in international trends or the change in the education policy in Mongolia, we changed it several times of our curriculums. Of course, we're trying to matching the trend, international trend in the curriculum and of our sciences. So lastly, we do had adopted the new curriculum in 2015. So in that curriculum, we tried to have much more combined courses, or because the internationally nowadays the natural resources and all the environmental studies as such, the part of the curricula. So we try to have this kind of broad opportunity to our students who's working in studying in the bachelor's and master's and etc. So in terms of the first year program, we started in 1992. The first graduates at the National University of Mongolia was in 1992. So after the 2015, we have graduated more than 300 students. Among them, around 20% got their master's course, master degree in the university again. And also around 20% of our graduates got their PhD degrees. So we have many different broad activities in our department, in our curriculum. We have many different broad research activities under the different laboratories and under the different professorships. So specifically our department, also personally, I do have many contacts since I got my degree in Seoul National University. So I do have many contacts in the Republic of Korea, many different institutions and universities. So later on, there will be the project titles, etc. So one of the advantages in our university program, at the National University program, we do have the 3,000 hectares of the university forest in the northern part of Mongolia, and developing the training center, research center. As you can see here, some of them who visited to our country have been visited here. And nowadays we also trying to have broadened research activities in this university first with the international corporations, not only the universities, also different fund donor organizations. We do have trying to establish the better learning center in the field, having many different field trainings, field works, international, domestic field works, and also the training for the local stakeholders, etc. So in our program, we have 3 laboratories. One is the oldest one is Treating Laboratory, which is one of our professors running this laboratory. So they do have quite much the long history. It means 1960 they had first started their project. The other lab is the Forest Ecosystem Monitoring Laboratory. We do have also the Flux Tower in order to monitor forest carbon sequestration in our university forest. And the other one is my laboratory, Laboratory for Genetics. I will started. We don't have the long history here. Mostly we dealing with the genetics and also the forest, the physiological aspects of the plantation forest, etc. So you can see here some of our running projects or the closed projects which we have dealt here with the Korean National Arboretum and National Institute of Biological Sciences, and also the Korea Forest Service, of course, and also there's some joint projects with the different institutions, universities, which I do have copyrighted within the last decades, 1 decade. So lastly, this one is ongoing, one of the ongoing projects which dealing with the population genetic diversity of the natural saxaul forest, which is also the one of the very important tree species for Gobi Desert. So as you can see here, we have sampled all those populations within the distribution area of Mongolia, and nowadays we are working on the PCR in order to know the genetic diversity and also the structure of the populations in order to conserve those limited distributed tree species in the Gobi Desert. So we do have also the one firefighting center, fire management resource center, which is also another professor is working on this here in order to strengthen that capacity building aspects in the fire management in the Asia. So probably they do have much more actions on this. Of course, the students get much efforts on this international cooperation. They do have opportunity to learn or the study internship in different institutions, or they do got under this joint collaboration, they do have some scholarship opportunities. And so this is the very important part of the program. So similar to the other countries, we do have also, Mongolia is also one of the developing countries. So we have not sufficient funds and facilities for the development R&D for the forestry field, but we do have, we trying to do best, even though we have limited grants by the government. So meanwhile, we're trying to internationalize our research and then broaden cooperation. And of course, which is some important aspects of the forestry and forest sciences are still needed to have developed and still needed to have developed in this, have to be considered in the near future. So probably we do our best, and also the cooperation partners in different countries, which is also dealing similar sector, can have much more close cooperation and collaboration in the future. This is my last slide. Thank you for your attention, and also once again, would like to deliver my sincere gratitude to organizing committee of this symposium. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Batu Niyamasolo, for your excellent presentation regarding Mongolian forest as well as 2 research institutes and 4 university, particularly forest education. And I got one of the questions from Professor Ms. Park. Is there any course of the forest policy and economy in forestry in Mongolia?
Yes, in the curriculum, we do have the 3 credit hour course on forest policy in economics, but we don't have the professor who is dealing with this issue. But we invited the professor from the School of Business, who is the economist and also policy. We're dealing with the general aspect of the forest economics, and we do develop it kind of this course curriculum and deliver to that professor, and he or she matching in terms of the I'm saying background knowledge for the bachelor students. Yes, actually, it's the one of the weakness of our university also.
How about Ms. Bach? Do you have any additional question or no?
No. Thank you for the answer.
So, like in Mongolia,
Question.
also I guess some very historically, so the traditional knowledge like jot. So it is very important to sharing your experience. Okay, so thank you very much for your excellent presentation.
Thank you.
We have limited. I will move. Before the Professor Marilyn, actually I would like to explain the situation of Professor Liu Shiryong. He actually this morning moved to the Hainan from Beijing. So in Hainan now the internet accessibility is very limited, weak signal. So that's why actually he presented all, but he recognized later, already turned off. So Ms. Yu Jie Chen, on behalf of the Professor Liu Shiryong, she will present the another sessions. May I ask Ms. Yu Jie Chen, please present the screen sharing again. No voice. It's the same situation. Hello? Hearing me? But we cannot listen your voice. 저게 뭐 목소리가 안 돼서 그런 건가? So voice 유지해. 응? Maybe 왜 그런 거요? Maybe your voice connection is not good. 현아. 안 들리죠? No sound. Miss Yujie, maybe it's a problem, the voice connection. Yeah, okay. 마지막으로 해서. So usually maybe the voice is none. I'm sorry, we will move and then later maybe check again. So Professor Marlene Convalis, are you ready? 저 다시 그쪽으로 들어가 보세요. 이거 안 나고 그 필리핀 쪽으로. 응?
Yes.
유지혜가 공유를 꺼줘야 돼. 유지혜가. 여기 있을 거야, 지금. 뭔 소리야. 여기서 될 건데. Okay. So now may I invite the next speaker, Professor Marlene Convalis, the professor from the University of Philippines at Los Baños. So please welcome the Professor Marlene. Marlene, may I open your video file? Please open your
Yes,
video
please.
file. Okay. Marlene.
So, yeah.
No.
Well, good day, everyone. Today, I'm going to present the Akeko Collaborative Forest Restoration Research for the sustainable forest management, evaluation and recommendation for future cooperation by yours truly and Dr. Hosangkan. First, as an introduction, I would like to share few information about AKECOP. AKECOP is a regional initiative founded by the ASEAN in Korea designed to respond to the challenges of restoring degraded tropical forest ecosystems in Southeast Asia, and it involves 10 ASEAN member states, namely Cambodia, Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Laos PDR, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. AKECOP started in July 2000, and its first and second phase were implemented under the theme Restoration of Degraded Forest Ecosystems in the Southeast Asia Tropical Region. Its phase 3, under the theme Restoration of Degraded Terrestrial and Mangrove Forest Ecosystem in ASEAN region, started in July 2008 up to June 2011. Phase 4 up to Phase 7 of AKECOP, which was implemented on a yearly basis, was conducted under the Restoration and Degraded Terrestrial and Mangrove Forest Ecosystem in ASEAN region. The goal of AKECOP is to enhance the capacity of member countries in the ASEAN region in managing the terrestrial and coastal forest ecosystems through collaborative research and partnership dealing with regional as well as global concerns on sustainable forests. This is a schematic diagram of the project goals and strategies involving research activities, education and training, and information exchange to achieve the enhanced management of forest ecosystems in the terrestrial and coastal environment by strengthening human resources, by enhancing policy and institutional capacity, by improving research and development, and by alleviating poverty. The objectives of the evaluation were to assess the implementation of AKECOP in terms of achieving its key results for almost 2 decades of its implementation, and to analyze the factors and conditions that affect positive and negative the achievement of these results, and also to examine the main challenges in implementing relevant future activities to which the project can address. The schedule of visit or evaluation to different ASEAN member states was decided during the first meeting of the AKECOP evaluators on November 24, 2017 in Kasetsart University, Bangkok. The evaluation survey questionnaires for the country coordinators, for the AKECOP scholars or thesis grantees, the representatives from partner organizations, and other stakeholders were distributed during the AKECOP International Symposium in Jakarta, Indonesia on December 5 to 8, 2017. Myanmar evaluation was done during the country visit on March 12, 2018. As a general impression about AKECOP, which is the general output of the evaluation, under the collaboration, according to our respondents, AKECOP creates significant contributions for almost all ASEAN member states. It is a long-term collaboration with AMS. It is a unique project which has been sustained for more than a decade. It is one of the best partners in ASEAN. Its successful project on collaboration between AMS participating institutions and Korea in environmental management, successful and effective model for collaborative research and development in ASEAN. In terms of research, according to our respondents, AKECOP is a smart partner and effective organization in assisting ASEAN member states, especially in conservation of biodiversity and related fields, implementing scientifically sound yet socially conscious research on environment in Southeast Asia, which covers many important areas such as restoration of degraded forests, biodiversity, mangrove and soil conservation, the non-timber forest products, climate change. AKECOP also prioritizes areas on forest restoration and links up with academic sector. In terms of management, AKECOP, according to them, is a well-run project with a dedicated and committed secretariat in AKECO. It's also a very well-organized organization, many projects which have been supported by AKECOP, and it made huge opportunities for AMS to do research together, to share information and meet common goals of the project, which are cooperation and networking among AMS and Korea. For the capacity building, AKECOP created many opportunities for young researchers to enhance their capacity through short-term trainings and education. AKECOP achieved successful outcomes in terms of research activities, community or livelihood development, and environmental protection, among others. It also provided huge opportunities in research, knowledge transfer, and empowerment of human capacity. The expectations from AKECOP. Based on the evaluation, one of the expectations is to be a source of opportunities for research collaboration, for research funding, capacity building, networking, and skill transfers. Also, they expect to support the research activity and capacity building for young lecturers. Another expectation is to have closer collaboration and that it continue to become part of countries' achievements in implementing successful and significant projects. Also, capacity building of researchers and forestry officials and forest departments, graduate education, scholarship as well. In addition, we also expect to have forestry extension through piloting of forest research activities, supporting advanced laboratory facilities and strong policy recommendation through a AKECOP regional project. Also to have financial support for research and capacity building and institutional development through formal and non-formal training. One of their expectations are to establish partnership between Korea and ASEAN member states in the conduct of basic and applied researches on various topics. Also, to develop and implement technologies for the restoration of degraded forest ecosystem and for SFM or sustainable forest management within the ASEAN member states. The relevance of AKECOP. The ASEAN member states appreciated AKECOP's capacity building program. They also appreciated the collaborative nature of AKECOP that fosters closer relationship among researchers and facilitates learning and cultural exchanges. They also appreciated the training and education program, the publications and cross-country visits. Further, forest degradation was prevented and forest was restored involving local community. However, the annual project cycle of the last final years was found not efficient from a national perspective, as it is because of the difficulty to plan conservation outcomes based on annual project funding. ACECOP is confronted with some challenges, which includes, of course, the budget. The inadequacy of funds to cover all requested and needed activities of AMS is a challenge. And also, this is to mobilize more resources from other interested partners. The second one is the MOU, or the agreement. The unavailability of formal MOU or agreement between AMS and ACECOP is also a challenge, as the MOU is very important in order to implement any international funded projects, especially for multi-year projects. Some of the challenges also confronting ACECOP includes the collaborative program. This includes on how to come up with an honest-to-goodness ACECOP collaborative program among the ASEAN member states, participating institutions, and how to implement this collaborative program effectively. ACECOP should engage experts in program development, management, and monitoring and evaluation to assist them in collaborative management planning and in tracking down progress and in evaluating the results of program implementation. Another challenge is the leadership, which is in some ASEAN member states' participation, the frequent changes hamper the effective ACECOP program implementation. One of the challenges confronting ACECOP is that multi-year program is preferred over annual project activities. These would allow better planning of regional, national activities that could result in better conservation outcomes. Some of the challenges confronting ACECOP are the establishing of these multi-year project activities, setting up common goals for different groups of AMS, developing specific objectives following different phases for long-term sustainable development, and project activities as a platform, including technical and economic aspects. Some of the recommendations of our respondents for future cooperation are the following. In terms of collaborative partnership or engagement, they recommend R&D project, short-term trainings, internships or on-the-job trainings, graduate studies, publications, technical assistance, and third-party project monitoring. For future areas of cooperation, some of the themes recommended are forest restoration, climate change, biodiversity conservation, poverty alleviation, integrated landscape approaches, food and nutrition security, marine debris management, and integrated management. For the multi-sectoral projects, they recommended technical cooperation for multidisciplines, cross-cutting issues, R&D with innovation. Also, research and capacity building on restoration for biodiversity conservation and poverty alleviation, and transboundary protected area management for the ASEAN Heritage Parks management effectiveness and capacity development activities on priority concerns. For the collaboration with partner organizations or universities, it is important to strengthen the MOA or agreement with partner organizations by increasing its involvement in project development and management and implementation of other activities. Also, long-term partnership with relevant institutions, universities in Korea are encouraged. In terms of operations, more deliberate and better planned AKECOP collaborative program planning and monitoring and evaluation of project or program implementation of participating institutions, as well as programmatic and multi-year approaches. And it's also recommended that self-finance after its completion will be done in AKECOP. For the technical aspect, the recommendations are the following: learning exchange between or based on R&D experiences of ASEAN member states, participating institutions, involvement of qualified ASEAN member states, participation institutions, not only in non-formal but also formal training, and human resources development, in particular young and female researchers. As conclusions, after the evaluation, these are the summary of what we have done and their expectations. We have goals and objectives were met. The organizational structure works. There's a balance of resources from key areas. That AKECOP built an effective communication network among ASEAN member states and Korea, and it motivated country participants to collaborate more in terms of research and capacity building. AKECOP was also able to establish better understanding of the culture and tradition of the AMS and ROK, and it made a very positive impact in the community, institution, and individuals' career development. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah. Regarding the AKECOP ASEAN Korea Environment Cooperation Projects, I worked as a Secretary General since 2009 to 2018. So we, as Professor Marlin mentioned, we are more focused on capacity building, particularly the restoration on degraded ecosystem and biodiversity conservation and agroforestry for local community income generations. Like this, the long-term collaboration, we established a very good networking and partnership. So hopefully, we are able to develop more additional network and partnership in the near future. So is there some comment or suggestions?
Okay. Yes. Professor Marilyn, I am very happy to see you online in International Symposium today. And I learned very much about the evaluation of AKECOP program, which done by between Korea and Philippines. When I visit the Philippines several years ago, when we have done the AKECOP program, I saw some of NGOs like ABS-CBN or big timber company. They are working on the restoration activities. So I would like to know right now how the Philippines NGOs are active, or other would you introduce some activities of Philippines NGOs?
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Wu. Regarding NGOs in the Philippines, that we still have a lot of NGOs working in the restoration of forests in the Philippines. The ABS-CBN Bantay Kalikasan is still there. But unfortunately, the AKECOP We have no activity there at the moment, but it's a good partner if we can continue this in the future. We also have the Haribon, and other international NGOs protecting the environment of the Philippines. There are a lot to mention. We have a lot of NGOs working on it, but the one that we had for Akekop, the ABS-CBN Bantay Kalikasan, this was a very good partner. And you witnessed it when you visited the Philippines. Actually, in my presentation, I am a product of Akekop, and I'm very proud to say that what I have achieved now is it's because of Akekop, and I would like to thank very much Akekop for what it done in my career development. Thank you very much.
And Professor Misam Bak from Seoul National University, she will give the presentation on the global forest discuss based on the global forest agreements. Please welcome Professor Misam Bak. Okay.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity for presenting some research result. My name is Misan Park from Seoul National University. I work at the Graduate School of International Agricultural Technology, and we did the background of forest policy, the currently international forest policy. I know that I have not enough time. I tried to show my research result quickly. It is the preliminary result from the project supported by Korea Forest Service. I'm working with the Global Green Growth Institute. And today I'd like to show some global forest discourse. We did some result from analyzing the global forest agreements that I worked with some researcher from my research rep of international forest policy, the Seung-min Shin, Han Lee, and Seung-eun Lee. And discourse, I don't want to explain detail the definition of discourse, but there's the brief definition of discourse as an ensemble of ideas, the concepts and categorizations that are produced, also the reproduce, and a particular set of practice that we can say is a forest practice. And this discourse analysis gives us some insights what kind of dominant discourse the determines. Then today's I want to highlight how policy issues are defined at the global level. In the history of forest policy analysis, in the late 1980s, we adopted discourse analysis for understanding the forest policies at the different levels, from the global, the regional, the national, and local. The understanding how certain policy ideas and concepts gain legitimacy over others, and how struggles over meaning ultimately define a policy problem. In the previous research, that we already known the intensity of forest discourse from 1960 to 2005. You can see the familiar issues, familiar term of forest policy, including deforestation and forest decline, and the forest-related traditional knowledge and also the climate change and biodiversity issue. And today I'd like to show the global forest discourse during the period from 2000 to 2020, for the 20 years. And I analyzed the Global Forest Agreement text as you see, the UNFF sessions from 1st to the 15th, and World Forest Congress document the 3 times, and the FLECT Declaration, and New York Declaration, the UN Strategic Plan for Forests, and Bonn Challenge, and also the call for action of World Forums on Urban Forests. I think I have not much time to explain the old documents, but I guess you know very well this kind of the global forest conventions. The United Nations Forum on Forests, as you know, it was established in 2000. So until now, we have the 14 times meetings, and UN Strategic Plan for Forests 2017 to 2030. It has 6 global forest goals and 26 associated targets to be achieved by 2030. And the World Forest Congress, today's Simone will present the preparation of World Forest Congress next year in Seoul. That we analyze the 3 sessions themes of World Forest Congress. And FLECT, you know, it's a forest law enforcement, governance, and trade. We have already used the terms of law enforcement, but against illegal logging or illegal trade, we use the new term FLECT. And New York Declaration on Forest focusing on the reducing the deforestation at the global level. And Bonn Challenge, it is a global effort to bring the 150 million hectares of the world deforested and degraded. Using this kind of the documents. So in addition, the World Forum on Urban Forests, it was initiated in 2018 by FAO. The urban forest, it is not new, the issue, but at the global level, at the global forest policy level, we adopted urban forest issues as one prioritized policy agenda. Using these documents, our research team tried to list up the key forest policy issues. So what kind of a policy agenda were discussed at the global forest agreements. It is the sample of the UNFF session documents and the other documents from the UN Strategic Plan and World Forum on Urban Forests, etc. That we tried to find what is the steady issues. It means before 2000 and after 2000. And we also tried to list up the emerging issue in forest policies. And we can say there are the steady agenda, including the sustainable forest management, illegal logging, the deforestation, climate change, biodiversity, non-timber forest products, agroforestry, the conservation forest fire, the forest disease, tenure certification, community-based forest management, and traditional knowledge. I think these terms are very familiar to you. And I didn't categorize these issues, but we will try to classify this issue into some categories later. And we tried to interpret the policy relevant forest issues for 20 years. Illegal logging, illegal trade, it is a traditional issue, as you know. And after 2000 or before, we tried to match the governance concept against illegal logging and illegal trade. That's why we bring new term of FLEGT. And the other thing is, so under the United Nations, there is the UNFCCC, UNCBD, and UNCCD. Under this global regime, the forest issues are handled under different environmental regime, and global forest agreements touch the global environmental conventions, and global forest agreements have tried to achieve the goals of the different UN environmental regime. We can see the integrated approach in the global forest policies. And we can say there are emerging agendas, including FLEGT, as I have already explained, and for the landscape restoration, I think as many people have a background of silviculture, so this term is very familiar to you, and ecosystem service, and RED plus resilience, the bioeconomy or the green economy, and urban forests. I'd like to highlight some agenda today. The first, landscape restoration. We have already used that term, but from the selected agreements, we can find this term since 2003. And this the integrating framework to support the integrated and comprehensive restoration approach. Of course, thanks to the Bonn Challenge in 2011, the first landscape restoration concept was actively used in restoration of the forests. And also this concept being the major principle for the forest restoration. And RED plus, as you know, it is new mechanism for reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradations. Although we have the problem of deforestation, we didn't solve the problems, but bring the new mechanism, new market mechanism, under the regime of climate change, we adopted the concept new mechanism of RED plus. It brings to the facilitate and facilitate and vitalize the reforestation activities and forest conservation activities. And under the regime of climate change, the RED plus mechanism, it is one type of PES, payment for ecosystem service. Today we have already learned the Vietnamese cases. And it is particularly the specific cooperation between developed and underdeveloped countries. And ecosystem service, we have already frequently used the concept and the term of ecosystem service after the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment in 2005. But at the global forest negotiation level, we use the term of ecosystem service, but we found the term after 2011. But this concept brings the multiple services of the forest ecosystem in designing the forest management. And it brings to the policy decision making, the process. And resilience, we found this term since 2009, and it is one example, it is one book, the linking with biodiversity, climate change, and the forest management. The resilience, it is deeply related to ecosystem service approach and also the global environmental regimes. And urban forest. This World Forum on Urban Forest bring the call for action, the greener, healthier, happier, cooler, wild, cleaner, and the wealthier. And these urban forest issues, today is already some of the speakers highlighted urban forest management. And so now we put this agenda on our global negotiation table. Although we have already some research, for example, the Journal of Urban Forestry and Urban Greening was established in 2002, But at the global negotiation level, we selected this agenda in 2013. And the bioeconomy. So Doding mentions the oil palm, the basic agroforestry. I think we can bring these issues with the term of bioeconomy. And we adopted the term of bioeconomy and green economy. And we can see the forest-based bioenergy and wood plastic composites and biorefinery. Then we try to evolve the forest biomass to the next step using the biotechnology. I'd like to summarize the finding from the ongoing project. We can show the findings later, but until now, we can see the change of global forest discourse from 2000 to 2020. We can find a comprehensive integrated approach for the SFM. So one is a policy integration among forest sector, biodiversity sector, and climate change sector. And ecosystem service approach and forest landscape restoration approach bring the comprehensive integrated the forest management. The other thing is we can find the newly created and conceptualized approach using new mechanism and new concept, the RED+, the FLECT, and resilience, the bioeconomy. And it is not new term, but the new policy agenda, the urban forests. It is just some the finding at the global level. We tried to analyze also the Korean side, the policy issue change. We already found it all the terms from the national forest development plans in Korea, but we have different highlighted focus. With it at the national level, we can see we can compare between global forest discourse and the national forest discourse. Before finalizing my presentation, I'd like to highlight the academic issues. I'm working for publishing the special issue, the agroforestry with the C4. If you have interest, then you can try to submit the articles about the agroforestry. The manuscript submission deadline is the 10th of December 2020, and we have a plan to show some results of this special issue and a side event of a World Forestry Congress next year. I'm very happy to work with you. Thank you for your attention. This is my research group.
Thank you very much, Professor Mission Park, for your excellent summary and also analysis of the global forest discourse. And it's well recognized the trends of the global forest issue, and particularly today, many countries sharing their challenges and also their priority, very similar the topics. So is there some speakers, any question or comment? So because this is also very meaningful, Professor Park, the analysis of the global forest trend, because Korea, we will host the 15th World Forestry Congress next year on May 2021. So hopefully we can develop the more global agenda for the future collaboration. So now, thank you very much, Professor Park. I would like to move to the next speaker.
Yep.
So now may I invite the next speakers from the FAO, Simone Rose, right? Or maybe Simone Rose, I don't know pronunciation. So FAO, hello.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. First, let me add my congratulations to the Korean Society for Forest Science on the celebration of your 60th anniversary. And of course, also to extend our gratitude on behalf of the World Forestry Congress Secretariat for this invitation to share with you the preparations that are currently ongoing for the 15th World Forestry Congress. I hope that you can all hear me clearly and that you can also see the screen. I know that time is not on our side, so I'll try to be brief in the presentation. For those of you who may not know a lot about the World Forestry Congress, it is held every 6 years with the support of FAO and hosted by one of the FAO member countries. The next World Forestry Congress, the 15th World Forestry Congress, will be hosted by the Republic of Korea. And so they are organizing and financing the Congress, as was mentioned earlier. It will be held in Seoul. FAO's responsibility is that of the technical program and planning of the related events for the Congress. And for this, a secretariat has been established with a Korean component and an FAO component. And due to the current situation, we have been working together electronically. The Congress itself is perhaps the largest and most significant gathering of the global forest sector. Participation is open to all countries, from all regions, sectors, whether it's public or private organizations or civil society. And it is, we believe, an extremely crucial time when the Congress will be held, because as you will be experiencing now, the same as we are experiencing in other parts of the world, the pandemic has changed the way we do things. The pandemic has changed life as we know it, and the pandemic will definitely have an impact on the forest sector. And so the World Forestry Congress will be an important opportunity to discuss the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the forest sector and the way we can position forests in the recovery, in the response efforts, both at national and global levels. We also have several other global initiatives that will either commence or would have just commenced at the time of the Congress. And these include the Decade of Action for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Decade for Ecosystem Restoration, and the Post-2020 Biodiversity Framework, which should be adopted at the next CBD COP. The Congress itself provides a forum to exchange experiences, exchange views, to form an overview on forests and forestry worldwide. It gives an opportunity to foresters, to researchers, to decision makers, to other stakeholders who are interested in forests to build a vision for the future, to share information and experience on scientific, technical, and policy matters. And we have heard in the session this morning and in the earlier presentations this afternoon quite a bit of what has been happening in your countries, and the Congress would provide you with an opportunity to share that at a global level. It also provides an opportunity to exchange ideas and to seek common solutions. Many of the challenges that we faced in the forest sector are common challenges, and we have the possibility through the Congress to develop solutions that may be shared among countries. And then, of course, networking, which is key to our work and to our lives. The Congress gives an opportunity to create those networks and also to maintain them. The outcome of the Congress, which has traditionally been a declaration of some sort, is usually brought to the attention of the FAO Congress and the regional forestry commissions through the FAO Committee on Forestry. But the outcomes can also be brought to the attention of the global forestry community through the interventions of the host country, and in this case, it is the Republic of Korea. The theme of the Congress is building a green, healthy, and resilient future with forests. And we believe that this theme reflects the integral role that forests play in ensuring the health, well-being, and stability of the planet and its people. The theme is therefore timely, as it will provide a unique opportunity for the global forestry community to consider the state and the future of world forestry, particularly, as I mentioned before, in the context of the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, while at the same time trying to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals for which all of our countries are signatories. Together with the theme, there are 6 sub-themes that have been developed. These include, these are for the sub-theme 1, which deals with the issues related to deforestation and forest degradation. Sub-theme 2, which addresses climate change adaptation and mitigation, as well as biodiversity conservation. And this will be an important sub-theme for discussion, as it will be able to provide direct and hopefully concrete recommendations to the CBD COP. The third sub-theme looks at the economic contributions that forests make in building a green pathway to growth and sustainability. Sub-theme 4 looks at the connection between forests and human health, something that is currently being discussed quite a lot as we deal with the pandemic. Sub-theme 5 will be focused on forest information, forest education, and knowledge, but more specifically, the way that we collect, the way that we manage, and the way that we disseminate this information. The last sub-theme, sub-theme 6, looks at forests without boundaries, so going beyond the forest sector itself and looking at the interconnectivity of forests with other sectors and how we can enhance the management and intersectoral collaboration for the sustainable management of forests. These sub-themes will be discussed through plenary sessions, the technical sessions. There will also be special events, both pre and post-Congress events, side events, poster sessions, exhibitions, and then, of course, as I mentioned before, networking sessions. We expect that the discussions that will run through all of these sessions will be dynamic and will result in concrete action-oriented outcomes. The call for abstracts is currently open, and here we refer to abstracts for voluntary papers, posters, and videos. The main criteria for the submission of an abstract is that it should be relevant to the theme of the Congress, and at least one of the 6 sub-themes that I previously mentioned. The deadline for submissions have been extended, and so the deadline for the submission of papers and posters is now the 5th of October, and the deadline for the submission of videos is the 18th of November. The guidance for submission and instructions on how to submit your papers, posters, or videos can be found through the official Congress website. If you go to the Congress website, there is a tab, Program, and under the Program tab, you will see the Abstracts tab. If you select that, it will take you directly to the official submission portal. And just a quick note that you must create an account and then log in to allow you to submit your papers, your abstracts for papers, posters, or videos. The call for side events is also currently open. As with the abstracts, proposals for side events must be submitted online through the official submissions portal. And again, the main criteria will be the relevance to the theme and at least one of the 6 sub-themes. Side events may be closed events, so invitation-only events are open to all Congress participants. They can either be physical, virtual, as we are doing now, or hybrid events, so a mix of physical and virtual. And the deadline for side events has also been extended to the 5th of October. Submission is again through the official website. If you go to the Program tab, then you see the link for side events. You click there, it takes you to the submission portal, and you must create an account to submit your side event. Now, we are encouraging as wide participation in our preparation, but also in the Congress itself. And so I would like to encourage you to share the call for abstracts and side events through your institutions, through your networks. Most of the participants here will be coming from universities or research institutes. And where you and your colleagues will be doing quite interesting work. And so it would be an opportune moment to share that with a global audience. So I'm encouraging you to share the call for the submission of the papers and side events with your colleagues and through your networks. And to submit your abstracts, the previous speaker mentioned that they are thinking of a side event to highlight the special issue, of the journal, which will be focused on urban forests. And so I encourage you to also encourage your colleagues to submit your abstracts and event proposals as soon as possible, and not to wait until the submission deadline. And again, to spread the word about the Congress in general as much as you possibly can. And then for those of you who are able to join us in Seoul. I mentioned previously that participation is open to all nations, all representatives from all regions, all sectors, but registration is required. And registration for the Congress will open at the end of August. all of the information will be posted on the official website. The link to the website is in the lower part of the screen. And I think quite importantly, early bird registration will be closed at the end of November. Early bird registration allows you to have a slight discount in the fee. And so you are all encouraged to also share the information regarding registration as soon as it is open, to encourage as many persons as possible to register early and to take advantage of the early bird registration. Should you have any questions related to the program of the Congress, we encourage you to contact us using the email addresses on the screen, whether they are general program inquiries, inquiries directed specifically to abstracts and events. We will respond in a timely manner to your requests for more further information or for assistance. If you have general queries related to the logistics of the Congress, you're invited to contact us on the email that is in the lower part of the screen. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to seeing you in Seoul.
We hope to all speakers convene again the next year in Seoul again. So may I ask any speakers any question or some comment or suggestions?
I have a question for Simon Rose. I am a professor of the University of Seoul and teaching some forestry classes. I have many students, not only undergraduate, but also graduate student. I have two questions for you to our Korean students who are studying forestry. The first question is, WFC will be held in Seoul next year. So how to contribute the WFC as a graduate student or undergraduate student? Do you have any some program for internship or volunteer program for graduate student or undergraduate student? That is my first question. The second question is, so many Korean students are interested in working in international organizations such as FAO. So would you please give some comment or suggestions how to prepare to get a job for the international organizations such as FAO for our Korean students? Thank you very much.
How about Mr. Simon Rosa? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions. On the first question, in terms of how students may be involved in the preparations for the Congress, but also during the week of the Congress, I know that my colleague from the Korean half of the Secretariat, Jungkee, is here, and I hope that he can also add to this. We have FAO has an internship program, and currently we have 3 interns from Korea who are supporting these efforts, but the application must be made directly through the internship program. It is a bit difficult at this point in time with restrictions on travel and the fact that, of course, we have very limited time left up to the preparation of the Congress. So it may be more easier for them to link to the WFC Secretariat in Korea itself. And those, I'm speaking directly of the colleagues with KFS. I know that they are thinking of involving students during the week of the Congress to support the running of the Congress itself. But maybe I can turn it over to Jung-ho to add to this if he would like to.
Please open your microphone.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for Simone and other oral speakers for the question about the voluntary participation of the young students. We are also carefully considering the necessity of the voluntary participation of the young students to give them a insight of the wide range of the global audience and the events. So, but at the moment it is not confirmed yet, but we are considering and for the preparation of this, and we will post it on the website officially later. Thank you.
And maybe to address the second question regarding the I hope it's internship with FAO and how students can prepare for this. I'm not an employment consultant, so what I would suggest is that on the FAO website, there's quite a lot of information regarding internships, the internship program, regarding the volunteer program as well, and the requirements for these. And I would strongly suggest that any students who are interested in getting experience with FAO first consult those pages for information. I know that there are contacts there as well who would be able to provide any responses to queries or questions or further clarification that students may require.
Thank you very much, Ms. Simone Roja. So I hope we can develop a program regarding the young generation supporting, like as Professor Wu mentioned, the internship, volunteership. And also I hope the next day, still we are big challenge like COVID-19, but the next year we can overcome our common challenge and we all together convene again. As you mentioned, the title, The Healthy Future with the Forest, because forest is an eco-vaccine. So with the eco-vaccine, we are able to meet together, all together, okay? Thank you very much, Mr. Simon Roja. And now may I inform the last speaker, but not least. So Ms. Yujie Chen, please try again. If your voice okay, we will listen.
So can you hear me now?
Okay,
Oh, finally it works. Thank you very much for still having me after I lost such a lot of time in fixing the technical problem. I hope I can fully deliver Professor Liu's presentation on behalf of him to fulfill the saying that to save the best for last. Okay, so I will start from the second part of his presentation. Oops, sorry, share screen. So can you see the PPT now? Okay, so I will start from the second part of his presentation to talk about forestry, the state of forests and forestry in China. He just showed some slides about the forest resources in China now. We have just published the latest version of the National Forest Inventory in March of last year, the 9th National Forest Inventory. And according to the recentest NFI, that the current forest area in China is 220 million hectares. and including natural forest of 139 million hectares. And the forest cover has been increased from the 21.63% to the currently 22.96%. And the forest stock volume currently is 17.56 billion cubic meters. According to the latest statistics, the total biomass of forest vegetation in our forest is 18.80 billion tons. And the carbon stock sank in the forest 9.19 billion tons. And in comparison to the Forest Resources Assessment 2015 published by FAO, so currently our forest area is ranking the 5th in the world, while our forest stock volume is ranking as the 6th in the world. And for years, our forest resources have been welcome a growth for years in terms of forest coverage, forest area, and the forest volume, according to the latest NFI. So you can just see some indicators which has been selected from the chronicle of our previous NFIs. In terms of forest area, in terms of forest coverage, and in terms of stock volume, we all welcome a growth. But however, we still faced with quite a lot of difficulties in terms of the quality of our forest resources, and also the inadequate per capita forest resources. For example, our forest area is only 1/4 of the world's average, with area per capita of 0.145 hectare per person. And although our forest cover is 2/3 of the world's coverage. And forest volume per capita is now ranking the 100 and nearly 140 in the world. And it's less than the 1/7 of the world's average. Also, we are encountered with very poor quality and low productivity of our forests. Perhaps just as you know, most of our forests are replanted after the founding of the People's Republic of China. And for the first phase of our national development, we have consumed a lot of timber from the natural forest to support the national development. So far, the young and middle-aged forest still takes more than 2/3 of the total. And our forest volume in unit area is 85.88 cubic meters per hectare. So, and it's almost 78 of the world's average, not to catch up with the world's average yet. And the timber yield in unit area is very little, and it is only 0.39 cubic meters per hectare, while that of German is 4.8 cubic meters per hectare, almost 100 times of ours. And our forest biomass is only 63 tons per hectare, only taking up 43 of the world's average. The carbon stock is also very less compared to the world's average. And from the whole country's development, we faced with quite a lot of challenges. Currently, the first forthcoming is the poverty alleviation and economic growth. Our forest area is taking up 3 to 4% of the world's, but our arable land area is only 7% of the world's. But our population has taken up nearly 1/4 of the world's total population. And in forest sector, we also encounter a lot of challenges. Most of them, the most serious are those like forest pests and disease control, forest fire damage, meteorological disasters, and some extreme weather events. So to cope with such status, we are adopting updated forestry strategy currently in China. Just in the year of 2017, we have published a long-term forest management plan, the National Forest Management Plan, covering the period from 2016 to 2035. And China is now moving towards the sustainable forestry development. We are trying our best to enhance the forest ecosystem services and the provision of ecosystem products. And the objectives of sound ecological system are protecting natural forests, biodiversity, and wildlife habitats, and convert slow farmland into forest or grassland and restore degraded forests. So the overall goal is to improve the forest quality and species structure. And we are also obtaining the objective of modern forestry industry system, which are developed, developing timber forest, economic forest, and associating non-timber forest products. And second, but not the last part of it, is to develop its aesthetics aspect and spiritual and the cultural aspect from the forest resources. Like the picture shows the cultural features of the forestry paradise, which we may attain in the near future. And in terms of the forest ecosystem, historically, forest management has been based on stand level, and the clear cut is taken the prominence. But currently, our forest management is addressing multi-ecosystem services based on landscape planning. We also learned from Germany and other European countries in developing the close to nature management to our forests, including retention of large mother trees and old trees, retention of snag and large wood detritus, remaining spatial heterogeneity of forest structure, including in terms of their diameter, density, height, and species. And we have established a demonstration and pilot site in our one of our experimental center of the tropical forestry, which is located in Pinxiang of Guangxi Autonomous Region, sharing the border with Vietnam. And the center there, they have established some demonstration sites in transforming the conifer plantation into mixed stand composed of valuable broadleaf trees. For example, from this slide, you can show that have improved the monoculture into the mixed stands composed of Mitillaria, Taxus, Machulas, Castanopsis, and many other valuable tropical timber trees, timber forest. And they also adopted the close to nature forest management approaches by interplanting. And such work has been started since the year of 2005. And experience here in our experimental center of tropical forest underwent through our collaboration with some German partners, including the University of Freiburg, the Technical University of Dresden, and West Virginia University of USA, and also Canadian Forest Services, and many other our close partners in forest management. The innovative sustainable land use of SFM is shown here in the slide. Heterogeneous landscape patterns composed of different mosaic forest patches are attained, including pure stands of either conifer or broadleaf forests, even age and uneven age mixed forest. So it's an ideal picture. We would like to spread it to other experimental forests of our academy. And the last part of Professor Liu's presentation is to talk about the collaboration with Korean partners. And the current status, we are very grateful for the previous collaboration through the help and great robust support provided by Professor Jungkee Lee, the former president of UFRO, and also professor of the SNU, and Dr. Ho-Sung Kang. And we have signed MOUs, 3 installments of MOUs with the NIFOs, which are signed in the years of 2004, 2012, and 2016. And under the frameworks provided by these MOUs, we also executed some projects and workshops bilateral with the NIFOs. For example, in the year of 2017, we cooperated in organize the CAF3 currently with the NIFOs CAF joint workshop for collaboration research in Seoul in 2017. And the picture shows the MOU signing between the heads of the 2 organizations. And for the prospects towards our future collaboration, after collecting some interest from our scientists and our project teams, they show interest in extending our collaboration with our Korean partners in the long-term ecosystem monitoring in response to climate change, ecosystem restoration, desertification prevention and control, and the pest and disease of coniferous forests, especially like in the Northeast China, which shares the similar climate with Korea. And also breeding and genetics and the cultivation of dry pressment, and also protection and utilization of forest genetic resources. We would also like to make use of the previously established platforms of MOUs, of workshops, of the mechanisms of exchange visits to conduct some joint activities. And also, what are the most prominent opportunities for us to cooperate in organizing some events, including the WFC 2021 to be held in Seoul, the CBD COP15 in Kunming, China, which has been postponed to next year due to the pandemic of COVID-19, and also the next UFRO World Congress 2024 in Stockholm, and many other opportunities like the COP16 of the Ramsar Convention and many other congress to be held in both China and Korea. We can make use of such platforms to exchange our views, our experiences, and our research results. So that's all for Professor Liu's presentation. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Yu Jie Chen, on behalf of the Professor Liu Shiliong, the very excellent presentation, actually. Thank you again. Any other because it's very late already, we passed 40 minutes. So I would like to big appreciation to all speakers as well as participants. The first session, more than 50 people participated in our symposium, online symposium. Hopefully in the next time, the more participants, we can share the more opportunities. Before closing our symposium, may I invite Professor Choi, Jungkee Choi, our president of the Korea Society of the Forest Science, please. Yeah.
Today's international symposium was very successful. I'm really happy with meeting you around the world. 11 countries participate in this symposium. As you know, Korean Society of Forest Science celebrates a 60th anniversary. Yeah, today is a great gift from you. I really appreciate for participating in the symposium. I wish you all have a good health and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to close our online symposium. Thank you very much, all speakers, honorable speakers, and participants. very long time. So please take a rest and keep health. Hope to see you again during the FAO World Forestry Congress in Seoul. Thank you very much, all of you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job. Good job.